Well, you had to have known we'd be coming in with Orwell. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. You know, there's hardly a situation that arises in the cultural zeitgeist anytime in recent history that can't be encompassed with that one simple quote. I mean, granted, Mr. Blair had millions of quotable moments, but this one, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Who could deny that we are living in such an age? Who could deny that we are living in the age of the memory hole? Who could deny that we are living in the age of the ministry of truth? The only thing missing is O'Brien showing up with a dull set of needle-nose pliers to pull the rest of my 7 teeth out. In any case, the devastation wreaked by Hurricane Helene. I'm loath to even get into this. You guys that know me, you guys that have followed the program for any length of time that haven't met me in real life, you know that I spent the first 18 years of my life in Western North Carolina. Not directly in the affected area. The first, I was there from first through third grade, directly in the affected area. And then I moved slightly east of that in the Piedmont region. If you guys are interested in doing some Google Maps work, Asheville, center of the affected area, and of course the surrounding areas, Chimney Rock, Banner Elk, towns that no longer exist. I spent the better part of my time there in Hickory. We'll be quoting some stuff from my friends in the area, including guys in Hickory and guys coming straight out of Asheville. I will not be naming names. I will not be name dropping and begging for sympathy. But what I will tell you is I am not objective in this by any stretch of the imagination. I have people, plural, who are in the path of this. I have people, plural, who are rebuilding right now. I have people, plural, who have been eyewitnesses to some of the federal government incompetence and malfeasance that we will be discussing just a little bit later. We're not doing a full sermon tonight, guys. I got to tell you, this is more for my therapy than anything else. I'll show you a few more pictures from the ravaged regions. This is along a stretch of river that we actually used to raft, canoe, and kayak on when we were kids. It's we've got entire towns that no longer exist. Weird historical coincidence that I'm doing a midweek sermon. The last time I did a midweek sermon was exactly 1 year ago to the day. Do you guys remember what that was about? That was about the then new developments in the Middle East. It's just weird that it happened to line up 1 year to the day that I'm doing a midweek sermon on another screw up that couldn't wait until next Sunday to be addressed. Guys that live on the Gulf Coast, my friends down there in Houston, we've been through storms, we've been through hurricanes, and we know that this level of flooding is something that happens all the time. I submit to you, however, that this level of flooding is something that the Houston people are used to. And even then, it could be overwhelmed, as we saw during Harvey. These people in the North Carolina mountains have no concept of this biblical level of flooding. It dumped in on them out of nowhere. It devastated entire regions. It wiped, speaking of biblical, it wiped entire towns off the map. First one popping into mind is Chimney Rock. Chimney Rock was a place we used to go through, like on our ways into the mountains for like weekend getaways, things like that. Up into the Nantahala region and Cherokee and Blowing Rock and some of these are towns that don't exist anymore. Scoured clean off the face of the map. These people are devastated. It came completely out of nowhere. And even though we have a federal government that can somehow find another billion for that clown shoe Zelensky in Ukraine at the drop of a hat and can fire up the money printers and drive us further into debt for any damn thing going on in a foreign country, just like in Maui, a one-time offer of $750, which, by the way, you're going to have to file for. Wait, this gets better. You're going to have to wait to file for online, because God knows in areas like this, we're just bustling with internet activity. We've got 4 bars of signal and our Wi-Fi is just chef's kiss. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Thank God for men like St. Elon sending Starlink in to where at least they'll be able to get some communication to coordinate these things. But I mentioned Maui earlier, and just like Maui, plenty of stuff going around about these folks. I'm not going to belabor it. Everyone here knows about HARP. Everyone here has an opinion about HARP. Everyone here can do their own speculation about whether or not weather control technology was involved in making this happen or exacerbating the situation or not. But to deny that this is a possibility, or better yet, completely shut down the mere thought that the government could ever even contemplate such a thing as weather control technology or directed energy weapons against its own citizens, why, that's merely preposterous. I would suggest you pick up a book, singular, any book dealing with atrocities committed against American citizens because of federal government incompetence, let alone malfeasance. But regardless of what we can't prove, here's what we do know. This is an iconic photo. There are many like it. You guys have seen it, and I posted a meme based on this photo on my own personal page, which I hope that you will share. This is a CH-47 Chinook helicopter, a twin-rotor cargo and troop transport helicopter that's been in use in the United States military since roughly the Vietnam era. This is what Chinook pilots are capable of in combat conditions under fire. So explain to me how we now have more than a half dozen confirmed incidents of low-level passes between Chinooks and Black Hawk helicopters coming down on these relief sites, blowing debris all over the place, and in one case, hospitalizing 3 American citizens. This continues to happen. FEMA's response to this disaster has made FEMA look like an absolute success story. But ignore the evidence of your own eyes and ears. The people on the ground who are suffering, who were the first to get there, the first to get active, in some cases running mule trains up into these mountain passes to get supplies to people who are starving and dying. No, don't take their word for it. Let's believe the official narrative. And this little demon, Alejandro Mayorkas, at the heart of it all, tells us that we don't have the money to do any better because we spent it all on illegals. We just don't have the money. No matter how you feel about any of these things, from HARP to our wide open border to the impotence and incompetence and malfeasance associated with the federal response, you cannot deny the factual validity of any of these things. Oh, we're just going to go by memes now. No, what we're going to go by is factual statements. And I should point out, take a look at the numerical figures here. We are looking at some old numbers because Ukraine now is up to over 150 billion in aid. Our dutiful Zionists, our ally in the Middle East, yeah, I'm looking at you, Southern evangelicals, 3.5 million in aid. Afghanistan, where we spent 20 years replacing the Taliban with the Taliban and left billions in military gear behind. Billions more in aid. 563 million to Taiwan. Illegal immigrants giving $13,000 EBT cards and $5,000 cash, being housed in 4-star hotels in some cases in New York City and other blue-controlled cities at taxpayer expense under Mayorkas's watch. Mayorkas warns that FEMA doesn't have enough funding to last through hurricane season after offering Helene families $750 and $50 less than that to survivors of the Maui fires, and has the audacity this week, look it up, to say that we are bad people for, and I quote, politicizing these events. I don't know what to say anymore. I literally have very little to offer. This rant is as much for my therapy as anything else, and I doubt I'll bring any insight. In fact, this may be the one time you catch me being noise and not signal. But I'm going to try to punch some signal through that noise, and we'll start with another Orwell quote. However you feel about HAARP, however you feel about the federal response, whether you believe it's incompetence, whether you believe it's malice, Orwell had this to say: however much you deny the truth goes on existing. And regardless of all the stuff that we could take the time to debate amongst ourselves, the truth is that we are in a deep, dark place in our nation's history. The truth is that the people with whom we have entrusted leadership roles care more about anyone else on the planet outside of American citizens. The truth is, in all likelihood, far too difficult, far too ugly, far too Luciferian to even contemplate. And yet, it goes on existing. We deny that truth at our own peril. My suggestion is that we embrace it. The sooner the better, because the longer we put it off, the worse it's going to be when it finally comes to fight time. God be with us all. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else is on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and certainly not employers for you dox-happy Antifa maggots among us. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are fueled by a raging fury, and they are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw and choke you with a relentless dose of turgid, thorny truth cock. Welcome back, boys and girls. It is time for a special Wednesday edition of the Sunday Sermon. Don't count on a lot of wisdom from me, man. I'm fuming and pissed off just as much as the next guy, but we're going to do a roll call. I want everybody's input, but right now I want everybody's fire. Come on. Yes, sir. A little enthusiasm, hard charging right out of the starting gate, no matter how pissed off and aimless we may be. We're still coming out of the starting gate the same way we always do. Gut-stomping band Red Desert from the smoldering embers and smoking ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're going to get to revisit that. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. I'm going to level with you right out of the starting gate this week. It's not going to be one of those weeks, but we're going to get through it, y'all. We don't do black pills around here. Right now, we're doing fiery red pills. That's worse than an ordinary red pill. Ordinary red pills where you get the insight. Fiery red pills where you're going to use it as a suppository on the next guy because he's just not willing to swallow it. So we're going to go with some red suppositories this week. I'm going to do a real quick roll call, see which one of you guys are on board. Of course, the OG Cinder Sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy, sitting on the front porch and cut and shoot, waiting for the sermon. Glad to see you here. And, of course, Brother Ryan. We have a long phone conversation after this short rant and rave session, and I'm looking forward to that. Brother David, glad you made it, brother. Yes, this thing is on. Sometimes punctuality is not my strong suit, but it's my program. I decide when it starts. Just kind of finishing things up, getting everything organized. It's been an unusual week this week. Hello, Miss Charlie. And I have a little announcement about that coming up as well. Some good news to kind of offset all the ranting, raving, and raging. Great Uncle John had pictures of the 1923 Heights flood. Yeah, that was a nasty one. I don't think we saw anything like that besides the Galveston hurricane in 1900. Um, it is purely the folly of man. You know what, Ryan? I'm not even going to bucket that. I'm not even going to bucket that. This is purely the folly of man. However, I will say that some of the men in charge of this folly might have some Luciferian leanings. Will you meet me halfway on that? Will you meet me on that? Purely the folly of man, but some of these men might have some Luciferian leanings. Just meet me halfway on this one, brother. Meet me halfway. Just hit the porch. Good, man. You and Deacon Mark. I'm glad you're here, man. Glad you're here. Again, probably won't get all of the usual suspects. We're doing it on a Wednesday, kind of out of the time frame. People have got stuff going on. I totally get it. But this was boiling up in me, man. I wanted to let it wait, but good Lord, we've got another hurricane that materialized out of nowhere in the Gulf. We got Milton bearing down. Brother Turtle can't make it tonight. Well, actually, I hope that he can, but if he doesn't, I totally understand. You guys know Turtle, man. He's here every week, man. He is a brother in Christ. He's a victory for the kingdom, and he is directly in the path of this next one that's coming out of the Gulf right now. And we're getting all kinds of mixed reviews, conflicting reports all day long. It's insane, man. I don't even know where to begin with regard to this stuff. So, but anyway, for you guys that are here, I'm glad that you're here. We're not, again, this isn't a full sermon. This is more like I got to get this off my chest kind of thing. So I hope you guys will bear with me and offer me some patience and understanding with regard to that. It is really weird, too, man, that the last time, and this popped up in my memories when I was going through the memories feature on Facebook for show prep. Um, oh, cool. Hey, well, tell the hubs I said hello and thank you very much. Um, God bless both of y'all, man. I love seeing things come together for y'all. Happy for the employment opportunities, for the occupational opportunities. And you know what? They got bigger things planned, man. You got to step away from this house of faith. Remember, the walk is not with the building, it's with the carpenters. So you guys are going to be fine, man. God's got plans for y'all elsewhere. Don't even sweat it, man. It's going to be a beautiful thing, and it's all going to work out. I'm going through my memories feature on Facebook as I'm doing show prep, and I don't very often do. Sometimes I'll do extra sermons. You know what I mean? Like if we have like Memorial Day, and I want to deliver a Sunday sermon, and then Memorial Day's on Monday, and I come in and deliver an extra little sermon. I'll do some extras, but it's really rare. That I'll just drop in just a little departure sermon. If I've skipped 1 week, it'll generally wait until the following Sunday, or at least that is the premise. That if we didn't catch it this Sunday, we'll go ahead and we'll wait until next Sunday to go ahead and get on with that. And the last time we did one, as it turns out, I found out from looking at the memories feature, was exactly 1 year ago. And we all know that, okay, I mean, today's the 10th, but it was October the 7th. You guys remember I was on my way down to do that crane gig in Borgia, Texas. And when all that kicked off, that Sunday that it kicked off, and then of course I've got I've got Monday, I've got to get everything situated and sorted and all that, get my paperwork, all my booking in stuff, processing in stuff. And it was exactly 1 year ago today that I did a little punch in middle of the week sermon to cover what was going on in the Middle East. Suffice it to say that here we are a year after that. Nothing's really changed with regard to any of the only thing that's changed as far as I'm concerned is the body count. We already know where things are going south on that. I wanted to get into some of the quotes. We had a White House aide today suggest that the best way for us to understand it as a culture was that Ireland and Germany and all the was that all of the Western nations that have already been bombarded with Muslim immigrants, that the only way we're going to be able to understand what the Gazans are truly going through is that we all need to suffer mass rapes. You can look this up, by the way. I found it as I was going through show prep, and I wanted to go into it, but I was just like, you know what? No, I'm not giving into that. It's unconscionable. It is absolutely unconscionable, the point where we're at. I'm going to read this off to you verbatim. This came to me by way of Wayne Sharp, and it was initially posted from a mutual friend of ours. Again, I'm not giving any names here because these people have gone through enough. They are doing the best that they can up there. I'm not trying to put these people out on Front Street. I have about a half dozen people right now who are feeding me information and eyewitness accounts from inside the actual war zone, for lack of a better word. The stuff that I'm hearing, and the first thing that a lot of people are going to jump on, and I'm really to the point where I almost want to slap the taste out of people's mouth. Yeah, but you can't verify that, bro. Oh, okay. So therefore, these horrible things that are happening, some of which have been documented on video, I cannot get direct sources on. I can't give you direct sources on, and therefore we should just ignore it and believe the federal narrative. Got it. My second favorite pushback is context, bro. Context. I mean, that chopper was coming down, bro, but I mean, you don't know. Like, there's no context for that video. There's no conversation to be had with this level of grazer, okay? And my recommendation is disengage, but it's difficult because I'm emotionally invested. As I said, I've got people here that I literally spent years going to school with. And we all grow and we all change, and we might not, we're not still having family get-togethers and Sunday barbecues and out back of the gym smoking weed sessions like we did when we were in high school. But these people are still, they're still close to your heart. You grow up, you have these people that you build these bonds with, and a number of these folks are in this right now, and a greater number are close to it. Wayne Sharp, who I don't see him in the roll call today, but you guys have seen him. Yes, yes or no in the comments. You guys know good. I mean, you've seen Wayne pop up in the comments before, and he's an old and dear high school friend, and he posted this that came from someone who was a mutual friend of ours in high school, and it has since gone viral. And I'm going to read it verbatim. I know you guys don't show. I know you guys want my commentary. You don't just show up to see me read things, and I get that. But I'm just going to read this verbatim, and I'll inflect as I feel is necessary to try to give you a feel of the gravity of this, not only to them, but to people who have people in the path of this thing. I wanted to give you all an update about Asheville from my sister. So as most of you know, my sister, my three nieces, and their three husbands all live and work in Asheville, and we are in the surrounding areas. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you are hearing on the news is true, especially about the lack of FEMA support. Let me punch that in and bookmark that right now. We are gonna wind up with it. What I can tell you is that every correspondent that has come out of there has talked at the very least about the incompetence, illogic, lack of logic, let alone logistics, that is involved in the FEMA response. We'll get Glenn Beck did a really good piece on this, and remind me to get back to Glenn Beck in a little bit, because he is another example of very good Americans who are putting their money where their rhetoric is, putting their ass where their rhetoric is, and doing what the federal government refuses to do. I digress. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff you were hearing on the news is true, especially about the lack of FEMA support. One family member works with EMS. Here are just a few of the situations that she has personally experienced. In the course of the entire 6 first days post storm, there was one FEMA truck and one Red Cross truck. My sister has worked at the Georgetown Baptist Church last 2 days feeding the community. They fed over 900 people yesterday, and God bless them and God bless their efforts. Emergency workers who were allegedly on FEMA's payroll as door-to-door canvassers, whatever, not sure. Emergency workers came there to the church, Georgetown Baptist, to be fed because they said FEMA gave them one beef stick and one bottle of water each. Tight with that money. We're all out of money. Teachers in the school systems will still have multiple students from their classrooms unaccounted for, not knowing if they are alive or dead. The cadaver dogs marked over 100 sites within a 6-mile radius. The smell of death is setting in regardless of how the news denies it. And this isn't the other person who has relayed that to me from the area. The news is denying, just like they did. How many of you guys from Houston were around for the aftermath of Katrina and hearing firsthand all of our friends from NOLA talking about what that was like, even though the news was denying it? How many of us here were in Houston in the aftermath of Katrina that saw the chaos both at the Astrodome and in the surrounding neighborhoods that, of course, the news minimized? So for my guys in Houston that have been through storms, that have seen the propaganda control in those storm regions, this is not a surprise to anyone, but maybe for some of you it is. So I will continue. Bodies are being found in trees. Daily reports are coming in of neighbors and friends that didn't make it. One neighbor lost 70 of his cows drowned, which is, it's compared to the human loss, pretty minor, but interesting detail. This is not the only account that's come out of there, but another neighbor was using his own backhoe to move debris and fix their driveway and other neighbors' driveways. And a big official, unknown exactly who, ordered him that he had to stop, that it was FEMA's job to do that. And he was interfering with their work area, even though no FEMA trucks were present. Now, I am not there for this storm, but what I will tell you is that I was there for Hurricane Hugo. I was there for Hurricane Hugo in '89. And keep in mind, that's 89. That's before FEMA became, mostly before FEMA became politicized and weaponized. Keep in mind that in '89, we're just coming off the Reagan era. We're just off the end of the Cold War. And FEMA's primary directive at that point was supposed to be post-nuclear response. Although they did cover storms, wildfires, everything else, they still were more or less in that Cold War era ethic where we're all pulling together. They haven't drifted as much from their original mission back in '89. But I can tell you from being in that region in 1989 for Hugo that there was more than a bit of that. Listen, man, Carolina hillbillies, Tar Heels have always been Tar Heels, man. I'm proud to have that in my blood. I'm proud to have that in my upbringing. You guys hear me talk more about Texas because Texas was the biggest chunk of my life. I spent 26 years there, but those 18 years in Carolina shaped me in some very fundamental ways as a kid. And Tar Heels are always going to be Tar Heels. They're good folk, particularly in rural North Carolina. Asheville now has pretty much become, Blue Ridge, Portland. And Charlotte has always had an inordinate amount of crime owing to demographics, and we'll leave it there. But outside of that, and of course the research triangle people, the Duke University, UNC Chapel Hill, NC State bunch right there in the research triangle area around Raleigh, they're very full of themselves, and they are East Coast liberals, man. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But even those guys have that Tar Heel in them, and there's a measure of self-reliance, which is why, Carolinians, they're a hard pick. You can't count on Carolina to be a blue state. You can't count even on some blue candidates to get Carolinians to vote for them, because while they are East Coast liberal, there's still a little bit of hillbilly in them. You can take that feller out to holler, but you can't take the holler out that feller. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I'm fixing to run up that hill. Okay, yeah. They are who they are. Anyway, in '89, dealing with Hugo and living off and on with a fellow by the name of Jim Felmet, old and dear friend of mine from back in the high school days. We were out in the county, as they say, which is far removed from anything resembling an urban area. Whole lot of people living in trailers and feeling the brunt of that, but a whole lot of self-reliant dudes that own their own heavy equipment, big tractors, front end loaders, backhoes, in some cases dozers, in some cases cranes and boom trucks, back before I ever had an appreciation for any of this stuff. But they got out the same way that they're doing right now. They got out in it. They didn't wait around, because they're like, why the hell are we going to stand around waiting for the government? Why the hell are we going to stand around waiting for the government? Let's just pick the damn road, right? And I ain't got no backhoe, but I think I know a feller. Let me wander on down the road a little bit. I got a little gas in my truck. I'll wander on down and see if I can find him. This is just how they were, man. They went immediately to work. Hell, man, the storm hadn't even completely passed when these people started coming out of their holes and getting to work on this stuff. What I can tell you is that it did take FEMA a shorter time to show up than it is here. And again, a big part of that is severity, owing to the severity of the storm, and I completely get that. I want to talk a little bit about fog of war here in a bit, too, with regard to the things that are coming out of there and the response itself. In any case, when FEMA did show up, the first thing that they did was start throwing their weight around and telling people, no, you can't do that. No, you can't fix that road because that's not up to spec. No, you can't pull that debris. You can't just go willy-nilly pulling trees out of that dirt road to get back to this holler so we can get people. You can't do that. That's, you're not, this is outside of regulation. This is our job. And of course, the response was pretty much what they're getting now, only infinitely worse. Maybe that colored the judgment a little bit. I really don't know. But they were met with some hostility because the Tar Heel response in '89 for Hugo was basically lead, follow, or get the hell up out of my way, boy. I got stuff I got to handle here. True story. And largely, the FEMA guys wound up standing to the side doing paperwork. There were some cases where they went into the more developed areas and helped with some debris removal and helped with generator setups and helped with getting supplies in, cases of MREs and stuff to give out to people, food and water distribution, that kind of stuff. But when it came to the actual response, as I understand it, they were about as useful as nipples on a nun. Okay, just nothing. Let me get back to this account. You see, that's what you guys show up for. You want my input, you want my inflections. One of their friends, her husband, and a 1-year-old survived in their attic for 2 days with no food or water. The husband took the car seat out of the car and put it in the truck, and by the time he got back in the house, they couldn't get out. They had to rush up to the attic with no time to grab food, water, or anything. The mother hung her legs out of the attic window all the next day so someone would know they were in the house in case their house washed away or they died in there. They found a couple of cans of chicken floating in the debris and used that to feed the baby. There are people they know that FEMA came to assess their needs and never returned with the water, food, or diapers that had been promised. The only funeral home in the area with power said that they are starting with the children first to give them the proper care that they deserve. 2,000 body bags have been requested from surrounding funeral homes and the National Guard. It goes on. This person asked that if there are any donations that you donate to local churches or to an organization called Samaritan's Purse. I will tell you right from the rip, I'm going to tell you I'll never give a dime to the Red Cross. Yes, the Cajun Navy. Yeah, there's the Cajun Navy, Joel, and there's also the Hillbilly Air Force. Yep, found out this year. My family's from South Carolina. They came and helped founded Texas Sons of the Republic. Right on, man. Dude, look, Carolina folks are good folks. Originally, it was just Carolina. When it originally became a colony, it was just Carolina, and then it split into North and South. The Cajun Navy rocks. Yes, indeed they do. Now that they have the Cajun Navy, they have created another sort of impromptu group called the Hillbilly Air Force up in Carolina, where a lot of those private pilots that have small helicopters had deployed the same way the Cajun Navy does. So the Cajun Navy is doing some deep upriver work. I know right now Charlie's probably waiting for me to go into a Colonel Kurtz impression, so I won't disappoint her. I was like, do you live by the river? Are you an assassin? Are you a FEMA representative? Anyway, so the Cajun Navy and the Hillbilly Air Force, and they immediately started relief efforts. There was one well-publicized story before the legacy media and the propaganda ministry shut it all down about one guy in particular who kept flying back up. There was an elderly couple, and he kept flying his son back up, and they had to swap because there was a limited weight capacity on this small helicopter that he was flying. What looked more like an autogyro than an actual proper helicopter, but a rotary wing aircraft, so we're going to call it a chopper. He took it up the mountain several times. The third time he came down, he was told by a federal representative that he was not allowed to fly up there again. This is a recurring theme that we're hearing with a lot of these people. Well, why? Why can't we fly up there? Because this is controlled airspace, and this is the coordination of this controlled airspace is necessary to rescue operations. Oh, okay, so you guys are flying up there? Well, no, we're not. But when we do decide to fly up there, we're going to need this airspace. This is a recurring theme not only in the relief effort, but this is a recurring theme in government policy. Witness the border, and of course we're gonna tie that back in as well. Witness the border. We need someone to enforce these border laws. These people are pouring over by the tens of thousands. They're bringing fentanyl. They're bringing, military-age males from foreign countries, people that are convicted murderers, people on the terror watch list. We really need someone to come and help. Okay, yes, but you guys can't do it. That's the federal government's job. Okay, well, would you get in and do your job, please? No. Yes, no, we're not going to do this job. But it's our right and our purview and our responsibility to handle. That's ours. You can't do it. Okay, well, if you're not going to do it, we're just going to go ahead and take care of this ourselves. No, you won't. Why aren't you taking care of it? Well, because we don't have the resources. Okay, you don't have the resources. We'll find the resources. We'll handle it. No, you can't do that. We'll forcibly shut you down. Oh, really? So you don't have the resources to actually do it, but you can find the resources to prevent us from doing it. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to watch this and think, well, you're oversimplifying, Bart. That's a typical Trumper hillbilly understanding of things. This is too big for you, man. Really? Okay. Then explain to me how these unwashed hillbillies for whom this is too complicated managed to show up and do the work before the federal government can even be bothered to show up. I told you I was going to tie it back into Glenn Beck. Glenn did 2 hours on this because he spent the better part of the end of last week and the entire weekend in North Carolina on the ground. You can feel how you want to about Glenn Beck, right? I like the guy. I like him. I liked him before he got with Fox News. I liked him when he was with Fox News. I like him a whole lot since he started Blaze TV. Some of my Christian friends out there that have problems with Mormon doctrine, I hear you, right? Glenn's a devout Mormon, if you didn't know. So what? Glenn is a little too cozy with Israel, but I get that. It's nothing that I couldn't level at any number of Southern evangelicals. I'm not comfortable with it, but I look at the guy on balance. And what I can tell you is that on balance, Glenn Beck, every time there is a disaster like this, and he's done it for wildfires up here as well. He's done it in disaster zones all over the country, that when the federal government is dragging ass, what's that? You met him many years ago. I have a signed copy of his very first book. I got it signed at Walmart in Tomball. Yeah, dude, he's come a long way from that, hasn't he? Glenn, you guys, somebody look up Glenn's net worth, but I'm relatively sure that with all his assets and with Blaze Media and everything, I think it's a pretty safe assumption that his assets are in the hundreds of millions, if not over $1 billion in net worth, just with the assets of the company, Blaze TV. Every time something like this comes down, he asks you to donate to relevant, organizations that are helping, like the Cajun Navy or the Hillbilly Air Force or the churches or Samaritan's Purse, some of these other things you can deal with. But he pulls, he is in Dallas now. He's got property up here in Idaho. I haven't figured out where, because I'd be little stalker boy and like offering to take his trash out and stuff. I really liked it, dude. He takes millions out of his own pocket, millions, and just says, okay, what do we need and where do we need it? And he goes and he puts those millions to work. Now, people can bag on the guy all they want. People can bag on Christianity. Yeah, right. I am a little bit of a Glenn Beck fanboy. Well, he soothes me, man. He's like, I can't listen to Bongino anymore, man. He like winds me up and I'm wanting to wreck stuff. You can say what you want about the man. You can say what you want about his political beliefs. You can say what you want about the scripture. You can say what you want about his faith. You can say what you want as a Christian about his particular branch of Christianity. You say what you want about Joseph Smith and the LDS Church. The guy walks it like he talks it. He walks it like he talks it. Simple as that. When the feds are dragging ass, he puts millions into whatever. He knows everybody. He's got his phone list. He makes some calls. What do we need and where do we need it? And then he shows up and takes it there. When all those supply trucks that he paid for, oh, Brother George, glad you made it. When all those supply trucks that he paid for and all the supplies that were on him that he paid for had to go to Carolina, he went with them. He went up in one of those choppers delivering supplies and stuff. A couple of those hillbillies even recognized it. Was like, wait, you look awful familiar. And, I'm Cletus, whatever, and, hi, I'm Glenn. And he was like, wait a minute, wait, you're Glenn Beck? All right. They got to call the whole family out to meet him and stuff. He's a good guy. All of the Tar Heel people that are working in this are good people, right? One thing I want to bounce over to real quick, while everyone is focused on what's going on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, as we should be, things that we need to take into account, things that are happening out west. I want you guys to do a quick search at the epidemic of wildfires. And this is keep in mind, this is October. All right. This is October. This is deep in storm season, but this is really, really late in wildfire season. And wildfires popping up all over the place. Even in places where conditions aren't, yes, not just Wyoming, mama, not just Wyoming. They're all over in the West right now. Now, having lived out here for the past 11 years in Washington, where we get wildfires every year, you get a feel for the seasons. This is very, very late in the season to have this many wildfires spread this far out. And again, everyone go ahead, tinfoil hat, whatever. The same 9-second Google search that it took you to find those fires, that 9-second Google search will take you to how they found any number of wildfires out in the western United States and particularly in Canada that were deliberately set. What are you talking about? I'm talking about 5th generation warfare. That's what I'm talking about here. You guys can also do a 9-second Google search and find out about the epidemic of, and this is coordinated vandalism at truck stops, not just for the relief trucks, okay? Some of those relief trucks are getting hit and burglarized, just like random trucks are getting hit and burglarized. But do a little bit of digging, and I'm going to recommend that you not use Google as your search engine, and DuckDuckGo is pretty much compromised at this point too. Look into Brave or one of your other search engines. But we're having coordinated vandalism against these trucks. Whole rows of trucks that are showing up at truck stops. And you guys who are familiar with the trucking industry, and a lot of you are, you know that just punching a hole in a truck tire, you know what a blowout in a truck tire sounds like. That's going to draw some attention. But we've also seen dozens of videos before, particularly from animal rights activists outside of meatpacking plants, where they go down with the power drill and just zap, 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 zap down the side of the truck, putting drill bits through the sidewalls, right? It's not going to create a boom or a pop. And if you've got a team of people in place to go down both sides of a truck, you can knock it out very, very quickly. If you've got, and the few arrests that have now been made, right? The arrests that have been made are, oh, wait for it, illegals. What do you mean 5th generation warfare? You guys know exactly what I mean. This is attacks against the infrastructure. This is something as minor. You want to undermine. If you want to undermine not just the supply chain, but the entire machine that makes America tick, for lack of a better word. Thank you, George. I'm glad you jumped in. 6 Chinese students at Camp Grayling looking around watching joint U.S. and Taiwan training sessions. And George, that's not even the beginning. Yeah, well, and Joel, in some cases they have used valve core pullers, right? But what's quicker? Ponder that, Joel. If we're looking to, even assuming they don't have the caps on them, and most 18-wheeler guys, they don't put caps on their stuff. It's still going to be quicker to punch a drill bit through a sidewall than it is to pull the core and deflate it. And the advantage, if you're looking to create havoc, of putting the drill bit through the sidewall is that tire is now unusable. You can't just patch it. You can't, like, DOT's not gonna let you put that tire back on the road. So now you are down, and it's serious freaking downtime, and these people need their stuff. You've heard the expression, we are 3 meals away from anarchy, right? I think it's a little longer than that. I say 6 meals. But when that supply chain gets jacked with people who don't have, and most, in my experience, the first question that I ask people when I'm doing prepper consultations is, open your pantry or wherever you keep your food. If it's a pantry, it's a food closet, it's a couple of cabinets, whatever the hell you have, a foot locker, whatever it is. Open your food container. I want you to look in there, and I want you to imagine that tomorrow morning the trucks stop running forever. How long could you last? How long could you last on what you have in that pantry? How long could you last? For most people, you're looking at days at the outside, right? Some people wouldn't make it overnight because you're used to it. You go to the store, there's stuff on the shelves. We have had it far too good for far too long. And I want to interject this since we're talking about those people in Carolina. I can tell you that the Tar Heel folk, they some prepper folk up there in that up yonder in that holler. Some prepper folk up there. They can their own produce. They can their own produce, right? They harvest their own meat. They've got plenty put away in the pantry, in the root cellar, in the closet. They've got tons of stuff put away. Some of the people in the areas that weren't as badly damaged, that's the only thing keeping them alive, and their neighbors. Because for some of them, they may have had an entire root cellar and an entire bedroom in their house devoted to canned goods and dry goods in a house that got swept away by a freaking storm. That's a good point, Tom. Ryan, tell me what the right question would have been. Um, one meal away, people have much less self control than what was said. Yeah, I'm just, I'm throwing that out, Thomas, because it's the benchmark. Um, and a lot will depend on circumstances. A lot will depend on region. A lot will depend on demographics. Do with that what you will. All I can say is we didn't see the kind of bloodbath that we saw in Katrina in Iowa during the floods, and the damage was much more massive. I will say that Japan looked a lot different after a major earthquake and a nuclear reactor spillage than Haiti did after a couple of earthquakes. So yeah, that is a relevant point. Where does it happen? What demographics are we dealing with? What is the nature of the emergency? What is this? What is that? But we're sniveling over details. Fact of the matter is, when the supply chain shuts down, people are in trouble. Most people are grazers. Even some of your friends that aren't grazers really aren't dug in too deep. What I worry about here, where I am, what I worry about here where I am is, of all the things that we've taken into account, I don't worry about fires. Mount Adams right now is showing some seismic activity similar to what preceded the eruption of Mount St. Helens. That's been an interesting one that I've been waiting around for a while. I worry about leaks at the Hanford nuclear facility. I worry about disposal leaks, radioactive gas venting, that kind of stuff. And I'm dug in for all of those threats. The number one thing that I worry about is other people. Because in a total grid down collapse, that's what's going to be coming. And now, in light of this response, I'm even more worried about my own government. Even more worried about my own government. Because the government that will prevent, take a look at the latest FEMA release on equity-based disaster relief. What? Equity-based disaster relief? You're making that up. Look it up. Equitable outcomes in disaster relief. That's FEMA's new policy now. See if this sounds like equitable outcomes. If you and your children are starving and you know someone who is not a prepper, not a forward-thinking individual, you know a hoarder, someone hoarding food and supplies, if you turn them into your local FEMA office, we will confiscate their hoarded goods and distribute them equitably. Don't think it can happen? Guess again. And listen, look, some of my older friends who I'm no longer in touch with, some of my older friends that kind of walked away when I came back to the faith, some of my older friends that walked away when I started leaning from a Ron Paul right-leaning libertarian into a hardcore conservative, not because I did that, but because the Overton window shifted around me. You're watching right now and you think that I've lost my mind, tune out. Tune out. Please. Save us both the trouble. This isn't for you. I can literally hear you in my head right now. Just, good Lord, what's he on about now? I've been right so far about everything. Let me get back to the Carolinas. Those people are hurting, man. And here's where it got worse. Here's where it got worse. And you guys already know because you've seen it. We now have pushing a dozen incidents like this. The rotor wash. And of course, mainstream media is not covering it, minimizing it, coming up with, well, what about the context of it? We don't understand. That guy might have been trying a low-level landing. Those tents weren't staked down. This is what our pilots are trained to do under combat conditions while taking enemy fire. So I'm really not going to hear a whole lot about context, especially on so-called landings where they didn't actually land. Oh, they needed to land there. That's why everything got blown all over the place. All right, cool. But then they didn't. They left. And in one case, see if I can find it, if I can pull it up. In one case, at least, I believe this was on Wayne's page. Burnsville. Yes. Burnsville off the 19 in Mitchell County. That particular incident that was documented, the military chopper, they went to investigate who was responsible. And it was the Cajun Navy that was in charge of that supply camp. And it was the Cajun Navy that brought it to the media's attention. So the people that are actually doing things and getting things done and providing relief efforts and are doing it more efficiently than the United States government, they, of course, were belittled by the mainstream press. They loved the Cajun Navy up until the Cajun Navy was, without trying, making the federal government look bad. And that's when the CNN thing had to air, and they made it a point for the Cajun Navy guy to say, well, rah, rah, rah. But in any case, they went looking, they went investigating. Weaponized autism, the internet's famous for it. They went looking for it, and as it turns out, it had turned off its transponder. Just before coming into that LZ, it turned off its transponder. Transponder got turned on again as it was outbound, and that chopper did not land. Pushing a dozen of those cases so far. Don't tell me that every single one of those was an oopsie. Please don't. You have FEMA representatives actively interfering with civilian efforts that are getting the job done. You've got choppers that are doing low-level flybys, hitting them with rotor wash, deliberately interfering. We're not going to do it, and we'll be damned if we're going to let you do it. You just sit there on the ground and starve, peasant. This is war, man. Rutherford County, 8 hours ago, total of 1,075 missing people have been located and confirmed safe. 3 confirmed deaths, 30 still missing. Guys, you should do a deep dive and take a look at these videos, especially if you've never been through a storm. My Houston people, it's not going to be a surprise. We've seen some ugliness. We've seen higher winds. We've seen deeper floods. We've seen more damage, and we've seen the chaos that unfurled in the aftermath. Because you see, in the cities, they're not like the Tar Heel guys. Those guys up there, up yonder in the holler, them fellers up yonder in the holler, their first instinct is to help their neighbor. This is another thing worth observing in the aftermath of this storm. If you are in cities, people, you need to get through your heads right now that in times of disaster, cities eat themselves. They eat themselves, and they do it quickly. Ryan has seen it with me. He's been down there in fact, Ryan was down there for Harvey. During the evac for Ike, I watched a guy get stabbed over a bag of Doritos. Stabbed. sewing machine style, over a bag of Doritos. Wasn't even Cool Ranch. Just regular old Doritos. That joke was in poor taste. I don't care. Um, and I'm seeing a lively conversation over here. I'm seeing a lively conversation over here. At what point do interfering choppers start taking fire? And you know, Joel, that's a as far as I'm concerned at this stage of the game, that's a perfectly reasonable question. What I can tell you, and reports are starting to leak, but the thing that I've been hearing, for the last 4 or 5 days is that constitutional sheriffs in that area have flat out told federal people, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way, and have let FEMA and any other federal authorities know that under no circumstances will interference with relief efforts be tolerated. He said, you guys aren't, they basically told him, you guys aren't in charge anymore. You coordinate with us. We were here first. We laid the groundwork. We don't follow your lead. You coordinate with us. If you get in the way of what we're trying to do, we'll arrest every damn one of you. And what I can tell you from personal experience is those sheriffs up there, they are not effing around. They will start arresting people. Now, as far as taking fire, Joel, I don't think we're quite there yet. But I don't think we're as far off as a lot of people would speculate. Stone, I'm glad you're here, bro. It's cool. It's cool. Take your time. I was running a little bit late myself. Yeah, it does sound like a scene from The Running Man, doesn't it? Art imitates life. Life imitates art. I guess what I'm really saying is that left to their own devices, and this is another thing I get sick of. Yeah, well, you complain about the response, but what would we do without government? More. That's what we would do without government. We would do more, and we would do it more efficiently, and we would save lives. This statist attitude, that pervades, where nothing can get done unless it's done under the auspices of government, is one of the worst lies of the deceiver and the enemy that's ever taken root in the American consciousness. But we have raised a generation or two that literally live on that ethic. They don't have any skill sets. Everybody who is here right now, everyone, literally everyone over here in the chat has skill sets that would come in handy after a disaster. And I know what Joey's going to say is, I'm old and I don't get around so good. Yeah, shut up, Joey. You've got a ton of skills that would be valuable in a post-disaster situation. Your brain is a solid resource and worth having around. Even if we got to carry you from spot to spot, buddy, you're still A-list. How about that? You got skill sets. Longstreth, you got skill sets. I remember how horribly the Cajun Navy was treated when they came to help after Ike. So many of the trucks that brought boats in were broken into, trashed, and left on flats. Disgusting. And David, thank you for that. Brought me back through to the point that I was making for people who were in urban areas. Them fellers up yonder in the holler, they are thanking God for people like the Cajun Navy and the Hillbilly Air Force. They are helping them. They are working to iron out logistics to say, hey, you've got this available. We've got this means of delivery, and these people need this help in this place. They're all coming together, man. This is the best of what America has to offer. You know what else it is? It's deplorable. Same as we saw in Iowa after those massive Mississippi River floods. You guys remember the ones that I'm talking about. Devastation on a biblical scale, and everyone came together to help. This is what East Coast liberals call flyover country. This is the backwoods that urban thugs stay the hell out of, and with good reason, because of what I call the try that in a small town factor. Cities will eat themselves. There were a lot of good people doing good things during Ike and during Harvey to pull together. But here's what we didn't see in North Carolina. People jumping and trying to. Now, you've got people coming in from outside that area. Yes, there's always going to be criminals, but not on the scale of what we saw. David, I was there for Ike. I thank God was not there for Harvey, but I was there for Ike. Off of Commerce and Navigation. Yeah, ponder that. Theft, brutality. There were people breaking into places while the eye of the storm was on us. As the eye wall of Ike was passing over downtown, there were people busting into places and stealing stuff. The impetus is what can I grab? And the FEMA response does nothing but encourage that. Do you know that I still to this day have 15 cases of MREs from post Ike? 15 cases. Why? Because the crackheads in the projects, you know what they wanted more than food after a week of waiting? Crack. So they'd come around. They'd go to the distribution points. FEMA's handing this out. Nobody's asking anything. Nobody's going door to door. They just set up a place and just start tossing off cases of MREs. Because after all, it's not their money, it's yours. The crackheads get the MREs and they wander down the street. Yo, dog, I'm trying to get $20. I'm trying to get $20. $20 for K MREs, dog. Come on. I looked at him. I said, I'll give you 10. Dog, I give you 20, dog. I give you 20, dog. I'll give you 10. Dog, I give you 20. All right, I'll give you 5. All right, dog. All right. I'll take 10. And before it was over with, I had 15 cases of MREs. In 2 days, I had 15 cases of MREs. $5 to $10 a case. Still got them. Sitting 40 feet away from me on level 3 of the bunker. But what's going on? We watched violence. We watched robberies. We watched off of front porches. We watched the porch pirates. They were out in it. The police could not respond. Maris, comedian buddy of mine, I wound up taking him some shotgun ammo to make sure he was topped off. He was about a mile down the street from me. I took him some ammo. He got in touch with me after a couple of thugs tried to steal his generator. They jumped to steal a generator. He chased. He called the cops. I showed up. Cops showed up a couple hours later, and they basically said, "Hey, you know, if you call us again, make it a cleanup call. We don't have the resources. Do what you got to do." That was HPD. I do remember Reagan warning the scariest words of language are, "Hi, I'm here to help." What I'm saying is, if you are in an urban area, the likelihood of dealing with some bad gets exponentially. And for those of you, Ryan, is it? Sound is gunky? How about now? All right, I'm gonna continue. If it's still cratering, please bring it to my attention. Guys that were there during Katrina and the aftermath of Katrina, and I see several of you over in the chat. We remember what happened. They started. No, the internet connection is weak. I've got 100% on. I don't know what might be happening. I'm actually plugged in to the internet. There's like physical line between here and the router. This isn't a Wi-Fi, so terrible. We're gonna plow through it. If it gets unmanageable, then it gets unmanageable. I don't have much left to say anyway. in the aftermath, we saw when they dumped all the drag and the refuse from the lower Ninth Ward into some of these old school Houston gang neighborhoods like Greenpoint and Sharpstown. We saw it happen. We witnessed it with our own eyes. That is what's in store for you, folks. If you live in an urban area, you better get used to this. Clever, Joey. Very clever. This is where we are in this. But the most infuriating part of the whole thing, and you notice I haven't even addressed the harm, because that's worms I don't even want to get into. Do I think that it is possible that they were and continue to around with control technology? I can't rule it out. You have a number of, and that is a lithium producing region that is made up. I will tell you that. Wayne, if you're here, you're in Bessemer City, right? Bessemer City had the highest level of lithium in their groundwater of anywhere in the States. They also have the lowest level of mental illness, because what else do we know lithium besides batteries? Exactly. Yes, there's some sketchy stuff. If you're asking me, I think there's some sketchy stuff on with regard to those permits and everything involved. But I'm not going to waste time with that, because that's something that calls for speculation. And that's something that calls for verification is not going to be forthcoming. So I'm going to concentrate on what we do know. We do know is that the federal government's response has been incompetent best, incompetent and impotent at best, and malicious at worst. When I make this statement, and it's really funny too, man, looking back at it, because you guys remember during Katrina, or Kanye made the comment, George Bush doesn't care about people, and I thought it was just a jackass move in the moment. Right? Thank you. Oh God, thank God. Glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here. We were talking about you earlier. Got the general, just gusts of winds now and mild rain. I know, man. You are in it, and you are going to be on the dirt side of it. And everybody, if you get some prayers up for Turtle and everybody who's in the path of Milton, because it's coming in hot. I'm hearing a lot of conflicting reports. Let me finish this out. He made that statement. George Bush doesn't care about black people. I thought, what a jackass to make under the circumstance. That's entirely subjective. When I make the statement now that the regime doesn't care about people, I'll go one better. When I make this statement that this regime holds hostility toward American people, not being a bit hyperbolic, I'm going to stand on the evidence. I won't hear the context argument. I won't hear the source due argument. I won't hear that. We can see with our own eyes. We can hear with our own ears. We process with our own what's going on. We have 150 billion Ukraine. No, we don't. We don't have any money at all. We're trillions of dollars in debt. We're printing $150 billion for you. Okay? So I won't hear the content at all. If we can print money for one, we can print money for anything. doesn't matter. When you're spending money that you already don't have, what does it matter how much of it, and why? So you're telling me, in light of that you will run money printers to the tune of $150 billion for Ukraine. How much was it for Lebanon this week? Somebody fact check me. 780 million something. Somebody fact check me on that. Somebody give me that. How much did we send to Lebanon? The Lebanon aid package that we sent them this week. 780 million that we could just bring out the end of our knob for Lebanon. How much more did we give to Taiwan? How much did we give to Israel? And to the Palestinians in Gaza? And we offer for $700, 157 million. I thought it was a little bit higher, but okay. 157 million Lebanon. That we broke out of ourselves overnight. Oh, Lebanon needs 150 million. Well, let's run the printers in their 157 million, and then have the audacity to look the American public in the face and say we don't have. And I'll go you one step further. The reason we don't have it is because what we did have spent on people who weren't even supposed to be here. I will not entertain, we're a big melting pot, we're a nation of immigrants. I don't care about any of that. What about the poor children that are suffering in Lebanon and Gaza and Mexico and Salvador and Burma, and you pick your country, Ukraine? What of I don't give a damn. I could not possibly less. When we have our own people in our own backyard who are suffering and starving, and yet we can still click one off to the tune of 57 million for a most people can't find on a map. No, I mean a map with the names on it. It would take them 5 minutes to find the damn thing because it's tiny on that particular corner. It'd take minutes. They can't find it, but we can crank off 157 million for those people. Can't take care of our own. But what we can do is fly people in from Haiti. That immigration amnesty, a 9-second Gooch, pull it up. We're not just allowing them to cross the border in place where they're they're isolated on an island that they don't share a border with the United States. We are literally them in by the tens of thousands. We can crank the money for that. But people in Maui that were burned out of everything, $700 for them a one payment. Oh, and by the way, you're going to have to wait for that. You're going to have to get on a list. You're going to have to do that online because we don't offer the in-person service. We don't have the manpower. You're going to have to electronically enter it when you finally get Wi-Fi signal, and then there's still a possibility that you might not be approved. When I make the statement that the American regime holds hostility for the American people, that's no longer conspiracy. That is self-evident. There's no context argument for this. That we continue to allow that border to be open. And again, getting back to the earth stuff. Fifth generation fair. And I'm glad I reminded myself because I did not want to get out of here without covering that. We're hearing about these attacks. Thank you. We will do everything yet right. Here's Elon. Sorry. Saint Elon. May his holy name be praised. Here we have Saint Elon giving the equipment. Starlink. Oh, here it is, all of it. They are actively preventing, like every other supply, actively preventing the Starlink being distributed. Why? Because information is dangerous. You guys heard me say this before. I had a dear friend of mine, Papa Bear in peace, involved in all sorts of covert operations on a commercial and a military level over, for over a decade, United States military special forces. He said in El Salvador, Nicaragua, you'd have 12 kids walking down the streets with M6 AK-47s. 12-year-old kids just walking around with automatic weapons. It's like wasn't any big deal. If they found a radio transmitter house, they would kill your family, and they would do it quickly, on spot, and publicly, and make sure everybody else saw it. Why? Because information is what's really dangerous. Probably the reason why I'm max head right now. Not to flatter myself. Generation warfare. Do you think it's just a coincidence that all these civil military age males, just this week, the federal government's own authorities confessed that 13,000 convicted murderers were released into the United States after it was determined that they were convicted murderers. 13,000 convicted murderers. They're in the vetting process. Always convicted murder. Don't let them loose anyway. When I say that the regime has hostility for its people, at this point, it's evident, and I will hear nothing to the contrary. You are entitled to feel about that how you will. These coordinated attacks on supplies, epidemics of wildfires, and all the things that you're going to see going forward. Power station bursting into flame. Transformer stations being sabotaged. Oh, it was a weather event. Oh, it was a cyber attack. A rapid rise in attacks against United States citizens that are going to go unaddressed. George Soros supported DAs that refuse to prosecute. Bart, that'll never happen. It is happening. Springfield, Ohio, Aurora, Colorado, with the Venezuelans and others. I remember when the first waves of illegal Mexicans started coming across during the 90s, and heavy duty coming in big numbers. And when they get into the historical neighborhoods in Los Angeles, the police, the APD, not exactly known for being the most race unbiased crew in the world, said that the Mexicans were driving the blacks out on what looked like anti-ethnic cleansing. That's exactly what's going on right now for whites in the United States of America, and for God-fearing Christians of all races in the United States of America. Black brothers out there, guess what, guys? Y'all aren't the minority anymore. They're done with y'all. Why do you think so many black voted over to Trump? Because they've finally seen. They've been dangling. They've been chasing that carrot. They've been chasing that carrot for decades. And now the Democrats are like, we don't need these black guys. We'll just flood the place with brown people from overseas. Screw that. They're not making any pretense. That's after things ever since LBJ and the social programs that destroyed the black community from the inside out. Black communities coming to their senses, and they're standing. The lead Mexican immigrants who are here, they're seeing the writing on the wall, and they're seeing it in their own communities. Where's the first place that these bumpers go? They did it the right way. They paid the price. How do you think they feel about this? So the only hope is to overwhelm. There are going to be coordinated attacks. Already are coordinated attacks. The sabotage against the trucks at these truck stops. Watch. Every single one of these situations, when these people get busted, and we're already seeing it, illegals. One bust that just happens, illegals working together. The sidewalls out and then robbing the trucks. So you have a federal government interfering with relief operations. You have usurpers from outside the country committing acts of vandalism against our infrastructure, all in the run-up to the most important election of our lives. The deep state sees the writing on the wall. They see that the people are pushed back. They are desperate, and they will burn it all down before they go with that power. So what do we get out of this? Americans taking care of Americans. It was bad enough when we knew that we couldn't count on our government to help. That was bad enough. But so what? Okay, it's not going to help. We knew that. We can do for. But we have to do for ourselves with our own government of opposition, with our own government backing the opposing team. That is daunting. That is a hell of a thing to get one's head around. I urge you, your vote to work in November. Even assuming he wins, it's a gap. Do you think Trump is going to solve every one of these problems? Do you know why so many recovering addicts fail? It's because they spend years digging themselves into the hole, and they quit. They just go, oh, I quit. Now I should be out of the hole. No, son. And that's why they go back, because they get discouraged. Lived through it myself. A lot of you there have lived through it yourselves. We as a nation, we as a culture, we as a people spent a long time digging us into this hole. A lot of us are just now coming to the realization, hey man, we're in a deep ass hole. We need to climb the hell out. And you got people standing all around the rim of that hole, stomp on our faces to put us back in the hole. Can't be mad at them. We dug it. No one is coming to save you if you live in North Carolina. And when I say no one, you know I'm speaking with regard to the authorities. No one is to save you if you are in a disaster zone. No one is coming to save you if you live in a neighborhood that has been overrun by Venezuelan gangs. No one is coming to save you. We are the last. Reagan said this quite famously. We are the last hope. If we fall, else to go. Every other country, you talk to anyone who escaped Soviet communism, East German communism, Cuban communism, pick your communism. One of the two major candidates, is literally running on Marxist, Leninist, communist philosophy. You talk to anyone who escaped from that when the Soviets were in power, they tell you what horrors befell them. Reagan quite famously said it, if we fall, there's nowhere else. Where are we going to run? The country falls and comes in this rule because our infrastructure was eaten from the inside out. You guys familiar with Yuri Bezmenov? He told us about this decades ago, when the Soviet Union was still a thing. When he defected, he told us exactly how they were going to do it. All the seeds were planted, and once those seeds were planted, the Union fell apart, and the seeds continued to grow. And now all of that's coming home. Those people. Take care, David. God bless. Be safe. Those people, place to run. Here. If we lose America, it's over. No one is coming to pull us out of this hole. So we had better damn well learn to start taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other. When I say taking care of us, taking care of each other, I mean anyone who is down, you know exactly what I mean. If you subscribe, you don't walk in my faith. You an American. I don't care. You don't share my complexion. You an American. It's a very vague, yeah, but you guys know. You guys know. There's not one person in the chat right now. There's not one skeptic who hates my guts, who's watching the Read and Rumble and going, F this guy. There's not one who doesn't know exactly what about. The kind of people that you see in the mountains of the Carolinas coming out of their storm-wrecked houses to help out their neighbors who are worse off than they are, those are Americans. The people stealing relief supplies, even worse, preventing those relief supplies being distributed because we're not going chain of command. Those people are godless shitbags, and I see every damn one of them on the rope. Everyone. There's no time to be nice, and there's no time to be diplomatic. They hate you. If it were to them, and I'm not just about the authorities, I'm talking about the statists that enable them. I'm talking about the people who are going to continue to vote blue no matter who, and a good chunk of the Republican side as well. Ones who are going to continue the power of the state over the power of the person. They're going to continue to enable it. I will see every damn on the end of a rope. Why? Because they will return the same courtesy. That's what they want. They showed their true colors during COVID. You neighbors, you had friends, you had family members. All of us here, all of us here in the chat had families, friends, clergy that we knew who said out loud that anyone who refused that jab needs to have their kids taken away, needs to have their right to work taken away. They shouldn't be able to feed their own kid. These people would have you dead gulagged. This much notice and this much stroke. They would do it. They have made evident. So it's time to start acting as if you can play nice people. It's time to stop acting as if there were any intellectual discourse to be had with this people. It is time to stop as if there is any way to reconcile with these people or to agree to agree. It's done. If there was any doubt left in your mind, you take a look at the way things are being handled in North Carolina right now. Take a look at the way they will be missed in Florida after Milton has its way with that peninsula. God bless you and your family and everyone that loves you, that you love. You take a look at the response in North Carolina right now, and everyone showed their true colors. Everyone for the last 4 years has shown true colors. They have told you who they are. Believe them. They have said to you in many words, we are totally okay with jailing and killing people who disagree. We are totally okay with having children stolen from parents who won't agree to be dabbed with something that we know nothing about. We are totally okay with taking children away from parents who say that cock off a healthy 18-year-old boy is not affirmative health care. We're totally okay with that. We're totally okay with having your opinion platformed. We're totally okay with stealing your job out from under you. You won't fall in line with these people have who they are. Believe them. Currently, in the mountains of North Carolina, federal government that is the statist high priest that's going to come in and save everyone. What would we do, government, to save us? Are actively interfering with people being saved. They are hostile towards people who are actually getting the job done, saving lives. A lead was suffering, and they are working against it. But how dare you rise above the authority of the state? And there are in your circle that are totally going to vote to have these people renewed. Because Orange Man bad. There is no discord. There's no reconciliation to be had. We did not declare this war. We are on the receiving end of it, and now we're in it. The sooner we recognize it, the sooner we will be able to address it properly. Because even if we ignore, however much you can deny the truth goes on existing. They can deny the truths that we get out ahead of them, but those truths still existing. We can deny that there's no reconciliation with these people, and that we are at war, and that these people do want us jailed or dead. But that truth goes existing. So you keep putting your head in the sand if you want. You keep saying that, well, maybe if we just tried harder to people, if you want. Yeah, but telling us to vote. Yes, I am, but I've qualified that, haven't I? This is the last time. If they steal this time, I won't need to tell you to vote again. If this time, it's over. So just for the sake of our conscience, if they're going to steal it, let's make it in broad daylight. Just like this disaster has shown their hostility towards the American people in broad daylight. Every time, telling these people to do anything. When open their own eyes, they choose. They react or they don't. They see light and the truth in front of them. Realize that they trust their government. Realize that they have nothing but hostility for them, and the neighbors, those leaders in their hostility towards them, they don't. We are in the stages before people start spilling blood. We are in the final stages. People start putting people into camp. Anyone who's even a tentative history can tell you that. There's not a lot we can do, but you had better get your S, and more importantly your S squared away, because it doesn't get any better from here. It doesn't. I'm going to close with a prayer, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. But I need to remind you of something. We still hold the strength. We have the ground to stand. We still have the refusal. You don't want to stand up and fight? Cool. Walk away. The support to this evil machine. I can't out your response for you because I'm not in your head. I don't live your life. But there's not one of us that can deny the truth that it's gone too far. It's gone too far. And our options become more and more limited by the day. Well, the founders, when they were arguing over the original document, said, we must hang together, or we shall all hang separately. I'd rather go out side by side, knuckle up with some of you knuckleheads. Comes to it, and I got to die for my country. I got to die for my people. I got to die for my. That's an acceptable way for me to go out, and I've already made my peace with it. I recommend that you do the same. And if you ain't up for this, get out of the fight. And the fight now doesn't get better from here. Lord God, I pray for strength for all of us. I pray for those people who have been path this storm. I pray for the people that are suffering. I pray for the people that don't have anyone to help them, but the neighbor coming to help them. I keep them in my prayers, Lord. This is good people pulling together. This is people pulling together for a good end. This is where we get to see the best in what you have created in us. But in those moments, though, when we get to see the worst people that are tools of the deceiver, the worst, even leaving it as the worst of humanity, that wretchedness of lies and deceit and cruelty. What end? To what end? I would say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But I think that they do, Lord, that they do know exactly what they do, which makes that cruelty all the more unforgivable. I leave that to you. I leave that to you, Lord. That's above grade. But that's for them to settle up. What I want right now is for brother Doug and his circle, for your protective hand over him as this storm comes ashore. Spare him. That you spare him, and those people that he cares about and they care about him. We're up against it in so many ways right now, Lord. We're up against it in so many ways. We're from that power of darkness, man, and it's everything. It's moving through. It's moving through the information that we receive. It's moving through the people that we interact with day-to-day basis. But we walk it, Lord. We rely to your truth, and we stand ready to fight. We stand ready to do the work of the kingdom, no matter what that is. If that's running a mule train up hill into a hollow in Appalachia, and saving people that no one else is coming to save. If that's standing and fighting against the people that looked down this beautiful civilization that is your highest expression on this earth, Lord. We still need to do the work of the kingdom. If that's getting our hand, rubbing some old calluses, taking care of people who have no one else coming to save them, let it be. If that's putting our knuckles together, chins down on our forehead, ready to take it to the fight, let it be, Lord. Lord, let mine be done. I ask only that you help us all to find the deepest strengths within ourselves to rest of that challenge when it comes. When it comes, no matter what, and more importantly, no matter how it comes. When we are called, that we are able to ride that calling. Help us to find that strength, Lord. And as always, give us the clarity, discernment to be able to cleave the truth from the lies. That we can be to walk in the light of truth, Lord. That we can do your bidding. Omnia, I'll do everything for the kingdom, Lord. I pray these things in the name of the risen Christ, whose blood bought my redemption, and whom I ever serve. Amen. Appreciate you guys showing up on Wednesday. Sorry, I don't have a whole lot more to offer, man. I had to get it off the chest. I can't. Right. Thank you, Joey, and I agree. I was talking earlier to someone who is upstairs. I can't let this burn. I can't let this burn me up. But I can't let it eat me up either. And if I don't spew this, communicate the thing in my head and get it out there, even if I'm really not bringing a whole lot to the party, it's going to eat me up, and we can't have that because then I'm nobody else. Oh, who we're talking to upstairs? Yeah, guys, I can let it be known, please. Miss Charlie has finally arrived. That's right, boys and girls. She is here full time, 100%. She's got a long extended contract at Providence Hospital up here in Washington, and hopefully by that contract, there will be full-time employment either there at Providence or another one of the hospitals. But suffices to say that Miss Charlie, and it is set in stone, and it is permanent, or at least as long as she can put me. But she's here, and she's here. We're under the same roof. Only took 9 years. But yeah, so that's some good going on. That's some good that's going on my planet, and I've got some other possible good things that are going to be coming down here before the week is out. We'll talk a little bit more about it on Sunday. I'll pass the collection plate. You guys already know. I don't need to rehearse it, but I'm going to switch up. Switch it up, man. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, man. We're gonna go out with some of the sword, man. A little bit of the sword to go out on, man, because we're in that mood. The fight's on us. The winter's wolves, man, are beating the door. They are coming for us, man, and we have to be able to stay strong. I'd ask that you guys get out and share it. Let them know about the sermon. Let them know that there's this fat, toothless crane operator with some his. He gets on and rants and raves. for a couple hours every week. But then he's a like-minded spirit. Maybe they'll get out of it. I really hope that they do. That's what it takes to share it. But as always, as Stone is finding, guys, here's what you can do, not just for yourselves, for not just for me, but for yourselves. They're still of saying hashtag live the three, baby, live the three, live the three. What the hell are you talking about? Live the three. What are the three? Three prime directs, guys. The three prime directives. Maxims from on planet. Rule number one, directive number one. You got to be the signal, the noise. The world will treat you with the noise, try to convince you that there's nothing left but noise. You have got to be the signal. Throw out all the rest of the distractions. Get everything else out, and punch through the message. The light of that truth. The light of that truth of the lies. You've got to be the signal, not the noise. Directive number two. Got to be the darkness, man, and they will try to crush you with the darkness. They'll try to bury you with it. They try to obfuscate with it. They emasculate. They will denize. They will demoralize you with the darkness. They will keep it in front of your face. Keep those scales over your eyes. Got to be that light. And again, the light comes back to truth. You've got to be that light to carry through the darkness to illuminate others, or sometimes to through that darkness to get that light of truth through to the other side. Which leads to the third directive, the proactive, the unrule, as it were. You have got to be strength in a world full of weakness. And I'm not talking about this kind of strength. Important. This is important. Don't get wrong. Because without this, you're going to be able to carry anything, because you're going to be able to keep yourself whole. But it's not just here. It's here. And then it's here, sometimes even here. It's that important, because without that strength, the rest of it matters. Without strength, you will not have lunch to get that signal, the noise. Without strength, you won't have the punch to carry that light through the darkness, nor will you have the tenacity and endurance to bear that as you walk through a whole planet covered in darkness. So without strength, the rest of it matters, people. Think about that strength and build it every single day. Man. Whether you're building it here by reading a book that watches meaningless primetime TV program. Build it, man. Be that strong representative. Be that strong soldier for the revolution. Be that strong soldier for the kingdom. And when you pray for that strength, and pray for clarity and discernment. Because the lies of the deceiver, the lies of the enemy are all around you, and they are amplified by the power of the propaganda now, and they will try to bury you with the noise. They will bury you with the darkness. Be signal. We got to be light. We got to be strength. So pray on that and stay after. Because even outside, those are all worthwhile. God bless every single one of y'all. Appreciate you being in here. Care yourselves. Take care of each other. Build a community side what they are putting in front of you, man. We are gonna win this thing, y'all. We're in it. Stay fighting. God bless, man. We'll see you on Sunday. God willing. Love you all. Know that. Thanks, people. Peace.